All right, good afternoon, good morning, everyone. This is John Cagle on the pleasure to serve you on the No Regrets Committee. As you guys know, I get out the communication and help you guys get registered and try to do whatever I can to make it a little easier for you guys to host No Regrets, February 1st, 2020. I am recording this session for free to use, and I will attempt to get it up on nrlive.com as a link to our YouTube channel in the next couple of days here, probably over the weekend here is my work schedule. It's a little difficult today, but if you haven't already, there is a link in the email that I sent you. I think it's the third link in the email that I sent, which allows you to see the video portion of this. If you're obviously in the car, I'd rather you didn't, and we'll go on from there. What I intended is maybe like 15 minutes or so, just go through some things, or even a little bit less, kind of casual, informal, and make sure that you guys know where everything is. If you're new to hosting the site, I'm happy to answer any questions as we go. And then just try to wrap it up, by the bottom of the hour and let you get on. Most of you guys are working, I'm sure, and get yourself something to eat and get back to your desk or whatever it is that you're working on today. Does that sound good?
Yep.
Does anybody? Great. Does anybody have any issues seeing my screen? You should see NR Live and pre-conference resources. For those of you who are interested in seeing my screen, I should say. Anybody who can't see that needs to? Okay, sounds good. All right, I thought we'd just go through some of the host site guide. All of you are able to log on, I hope. Please let me know if you're not able to log on to nrlive.com for any reason. As you know, when you register, a password is sent to you, and the username that goes along with that password is your host site coordinator's email address. So as a reminder, don't forget to share the link for nrlive.com along with those login credentials, again, for those of you who are new. Once you get in, you'll see several pages. These do update from time to time, so it would be great to kind of come in and look at some of the things that are happening. For the major things that I think require your attention or would be of interest to you, we try to set out just a little email. I try to kind of balance that because I don't want to send you an email every day and you think, oh, that doesn't pertain to me, and then maybe get a little saturated with emails. So try to find a balance there, and I hope that's working for everyone. I certainly do appreciate your comments and questions, even if it's trivial, because others might have the same question. As you're receiving emails from John at nrlive.com, feel free to respond. Those do circle back to me within a minute or so, but you may see me respond from my Gmail address. So I don't want anybody to be worried about that. It's just difficult for me to juggle the email folders that I have going as it is, let alone adding one more. So I do typically work from Gmail, even though John at nrlive.com is what you're responding to. In the pre-conference resources, there are a number of things that you can work from, including the host site guide. In addition to that main page, there is a publicity page. Someone was commenting just a few minutes ago about the videos, principles. There is even an example of a radio spot, so that if you want the No Regrets President Steve Sonderman to record a radio spot for you, be happy to do so. He would love to do that. So if you have a public service announcement kind of situation that you're interested in your local community, that's something you certainly could take advantage of. And then the web banners at the bottom. As we've gone along here, we over the last couple of years, for those of you who are a little bit more experienced, you've noticed that we've added a little more content each year, trying to make it a little easier for you. If you have any issues accessing any of this stuff, I sure would like to know right away. I think one of our host sites had sent some information a couple of weeks ago. Said, "Hey, this didn't quite work for me. How do I, how do I make it a little bit better?" And we try to respond as soon as we can, given the resources that we have. On the streaming main page, you'll see that a little description of the streams that are available to you as host sites. Again, let me just go through that real briefly here. Stream 1 is the whole set and sit back and play it, right? So stream 1 includes the worship. You can start at any time, right? We start at 8:30 Central Time. If you want to start at 10 o'clock, you're welcome to do that. You would just join the stream and roll it backwards an hour and a half with your slider, just like watching a YouTube video, and start it up. Stream 2 requires a little more coordination because there's no worship, and includes a countdown clock during the worship time that's happening at the main site at Elmbrook Church in Brookfield, Wisconsin. That countdown clock then should be a good reminder for your team, assuming you're either meeting out separately or doing your own worship, or maybe a combination thereof. Stream 3 then holds the breakout seminars that are off the main stage at the two sites that we have in Milwaukee. So those programs will be available to you shortly. We're working on continuing to finish the program guide much earlier than in previous years. It's been a main goal of the team to get that out to you in early December rather than early January. Hopefully that will be a great help for you. On the day of the conference, or actually starting, I think the week before the conference, but certainly on the Thursday before the conference. I'm sorry, I don't know the exact time it's available. The full live stream will be available to you at any time. On this page, it'll be available to you at any time. Though you can do the testing that you want to do within your facility, either with a grayscale or color bar test patterns, and work on doing that. If you come over to the streaming test, we will be simulcasting. Here's a way for you to test it in the meantime, or before the main, the regular or the real stream is available. Here's a way for you to test it. You guys, especially, don't roll your eyes, guys, who are the veterans. We'll strongly recommend each year that you take the machinery that you're going to use to stream this and go through it in a live situation as much as possible. So for those of you in a church, you take that PC that's streaming, you take it in and plug it into the LAN you're going to use, in the room you're going to use during your worship time, where people might be hogging resources, etc. And really make sure that you stream that. Test that stream. The idea would be here that we do work with an international company called Akamai, which will automatically adjust the bit rate for your environment based on what it's seeing for the connection. So that should be helpful to you. We could take any further questions about that offline if you'd like. So that's me kind of rambling on about a couple of highlights that I think are important, especially as you get going here. Coming back to the pre-conference resources page, and my wife must be streaming in another part of the house here. That's why it might take a minute. We have the host site guide available to us, and I just want to open that up and go through that. I should have tested. Sorry. That link keeps failing me. It failed me again. Oh, brother, the whole thing is about the host site guide here. No one tested that lately. Very nice. I'm sorry about that, guys. Give me just a second. I believe I have it available to me.
Came up for me when I clicked on the link.
Oh, good. Good. I'll have you share your screen. I've got it locally here, though. I think it might be a cache issue, so sorry about that. But I do have it. You guys see my PDF here?
Yes.
Okay, good. Good, good, good. Small panic as we work there. All right, I'll work through this here. Yep, I have last year's version saved locally here, not the I do have the 2021 too, but this is close enough here. And the only thing that will be different would be the program. But maybe I go through this a little bit. This is material that we hope that you'll think about and use in your planning committee meetings, talking about what's going on, in our heads, and especially Steve Sonderman's head as we get into this and why we're doing it. Hopefully that some of this material is catalyzing some excitement on your end in terms of what's happening, why we're doing this, why it's special, above and beyond you guys' experience in the past of using it and getting excited about it. One thing that you've seen over the last couple of weeks is some emails from Steve Sonderman about discipling more men and discipling men to a greater degree. And that's that small group email blasts that have been going out. I hope those have been important to you. I hope that there's some stuff that's good in there, and Steve plans on continuing that kind of coaching situation as we go into it. All right, a couple of details here in the host site guide. I'm rambling here about all the things that are exciting to me, and I should be more concise. If you haven't been through this, there's a couple of tips here, a couple of checklist things that you should be working through. Making sure that you're reserving the rooms and the building, the parking lot is going to be set, all of that kind of good stuff. That's the facility team. Going through the technical requirements, and this gives a little more input on setting, on the settings that will happen and what you can do, and doing the bandwidth tests. If you haven't been through this, building the team for some of your sites, some of these roles are going to be combined and coordinated. And you may have a registration and publicity coordinator that's the same person, if your site is a little bit smaller, for example. Each year we get a lot of comments about the facilities and food, and we kind of provide a basic thing here with a focus on sandwich, but I know there's lots of good things out there that are happening. I know some guys have barbecues and open pit barbecues and all kinds of good stuff. So just want to in fact, I'd like to learn about that a little bit more as we get into the sessions. But food, hospitality, and then your technical coordinator, make sure test, of course. And I think while it's on the bottom of this list, the prayer leader probably is, at least in my opinion, the most important. Above and beyond even the host site coordinator in getting a successful host site experience completed. We do not typically get a lot of questions about registration, but I might just take a breath for a second and ask if you guys have any questions about registering your guys for the event. And there's pointing out a couple, I like this a lot, pointing out a couple of things, a couple of resources for you, and how to get some wristbands printed if that's important to you. The schedule. This schedule will be updated shortly, within the next week or so, or 2 weeks at the most. And that will be important to you, and I'll send you a note when we update the schedule and when the program is available for you guys to start thinking about printing for yourself. We do recommend, on going sideways on the program for a second, that this may change. We have a great lineup, of course, again this year, but there may be a situation where we flip-flop platform session 2 and 3, for example. So we do recommend that you wait a little bit longer, into January before you go ahead and print your programs. But we'll update this schedule here, again, in the next week or 2. All right, looking at lunch, just tips about lunch, tips about hospitality elements, get your guys some donuts, those kinds of things. One of the things that you may consider doing, even as a smaller site, is to start to think about what other resources are available in the community that may want to touch base with the guys, whether it's some volunteer things that they may want to know about, or maybe there's some resources, or maybe your bookstore has a special event during your event, or whatever the situation may be. And then, how you guys doing on your volunteers? Feeling good?
This is Greg at Riverview, and in addition to myself, I have the core of the leadership team of our men's ministry, Gary Gilmore and Dennis Rowe, who are here with us, and so feel very good about the enthusiasm level and the availability of people to support this. So we're excited about this being the the 3rd annual No Regrets, but the best that Riverview has hosted.
Sweet, good. All right, let me just spend another minute or 2 and then leave 10 or 15 minutes for some questions. I made mention of the program handout just a minute ago. Again, should be just a couple of weeks before we get that finalized, but don't print it until January, right? Because we want to make sure that, again, session 3 and session 4 don't get flip-flopped or something to that idea as we go along. We've talked about the promotional materials for the event. Any questions that you guys have on that, please send me an email. Let me know and what you need on that. Let me say, yeah.
It's Greg. With regard to promotional materials, we used one of your products that we tried to expand to a 2x8 banner that would go over our sign-up table for the No Regrets Conference, which has the pictures of all of the speakers and so forth. I would share that our church is very 2-foot by 8-foot long banner centric, given our canopy table set up in the way we do it. And unfortunately, our vendor indicated that when he took that JPEG to try and expand it, he thought it was kind of blurry, and he didn't like the resolution that it provided. I was just curious if there might be a something to consider, maybe a higher resolution, or what we've chosen to do was compress the size of the image specifically to get that clarity in the display, and then added and augmented to the other side of the banner some additional information. But that's something that would, be nice to be able to have this is a 2x8 banner that is intended to be, put on top of a canopy, under or over a canopy, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I got it. So, Greg, make sure I got this. You said, I'd really like to have a higher resolution picture for just one picture on the 2x8 banner. I did a little workaround in the meantime by putting a couple images side by side, right? Is that what you did?
That's correct. We reduced the size to get the clarity that we wanted, and augmented it with another block that contained planning information for the men to read.
Yep. Okay, got it. All right, I'll check into that for you guys, and put a note out to you if we're able to make significant change on that.
All right.
Okay. Any other questions on the promotional materials?
John, and I had just another thing, and this is my last round that I wanted to share, was that
okay.
in an earlier No Regrets, like last year, we had another church that came to ours, and they came with No Regrets T-shirts and so forth from an earlier trip they made to Elmbrook. And so that was pretty spectacular, and our guys were going, wow, that'd be really neat to have those No Regrets T-shirts and so forth. And I'm just wondering about planning toward that. Would it be best? I wouldn't want order a bunch of shirts and then be stuck with them because we didn't sell them.
Yep.
Is it just a plan to, if somebody is interested in getting a No Regrets for 2020, that they would just go online and be able to order it by a particular date to have it to wear to the conference on the 1st?
Yeah, that's a good question. All of a sudden, I can't think of where our clothes are here, where the T-shirts are, etc. I will let me make a little summary of that for you guys. Summary of materials / clothes available, and get that out to you guys. That's a great question. So you would be able to buy, if you wanted to buy 10 large and 10 extra large and 20 of something else, you are able to do that even now or soon. But let me just double check on that and make a nice concise summary for you. Okay?
Yeah, and a drop dead date that the order could be fulfilled, so we can make sure we do it on, we get it done on time.
Great idea. Making a note here, if you'll bear with me. Excellent idea. Thanks. That was worth the price of admission right there for me. Okay, other questions on promotional materials are similar.
Just a comment.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Dave Munson, by the way, from Kenosha Bible Church.
Hi, Dave.
My task from the beginning, and this will be our 5th year, I call it, I guess, local breakout coordinator. I recruit the speakers, offer suggested topics, approve the topics, assure equipment needs are met, and recruit and train the room host. And there wasn't, in the beginning, nor is there now, much information on that, which is a major responsibility if you're providing your own in-house breakouts.
So Dave, are you suggesting that I want to add some information in here about some best practices about as the guest speaker or breakout speaker coordinator?
Yeah, or at least that task exists. Again, if you choose to have your own breakouts.
Yeah, good suggestion. I appreciate that.
Because I fumbled around and I contacted another church who had previously hosted, got some information. I contacted your guys, but there wasn't much to go on other than that.
Got it. I'm making a few notes. Good question. I will get a response to you and everyone.
All right, thanks.
I like that. That's good. All right, we're talking about promotion. I've skimmed over choosing the live stream earlier. Sometimes I get questions on this from new host sites. I think we've done a good job of making this more and more clear over the last couple of years. Are there questions about what stream to choose, how it works, when to start, those kinds of things as we go?
Hey, John, this is Greg again. As we talk about streams, one of the challenges that we've heard from the men in attendance is that they hear the speaker, they know the person's bio and background, but the challenge that I'm thinking about going forward is to mix and match my breakout session speaker to complement and not not cause a problem with the subject matter that is being discussed. In other words, like if we had a streamed channel 1 speaker plus a breakout channel 3, plus I've got another breakout speaker of my own located, and I've got, let's say, 4 of those local breakout speakers, and I'm wanting to try to decide where would that lesson or message he's going to present not be in conflict with some of the others, be it he's going to talk about marriage, or he's going to talk about lust, or he's going to talk about pornography, and so forth. And I would want to place that so that there would be not two simultaneous, work and work, but mix and match it to fit. So the challenge I've had is trying to understand what the speaker is going to be talking about so that I can place my local breakout speaker in the right time window.
Sure, I get it. It's probably the biggest, I would say it's one of the most often asked questions, and it's one of our biggest angst because we can't control them. We make suggestions, right? And we do our best to get some content, and I can tell you that frequently we don't get that content until, if we get it, until a few days before even in some instances. But I will raise your concern. I'm assuming I'm answering your question. I'll raise a concern again to Steve to see if he can renew the pressure for getting that from the speakers as soon as possible and get it published into the schedule as soon as possible for you guys.
Yeah, I know that we want the latitude to let the Holy Spirit cause the men to preach what they're led to preach, and I'm just approaching it from a simple, hey, where does it fit, where would it best? So I appreciate your help trying to move in that direction.
Yeah, I'll definitely press Steve to press the speakers, as much as possible. I think sometimes we just need to be reminded to do it. We think about it. I can tell you we won't be able to get you PowerPoints and PDFs and all that kind of stuff of their stuff. That just never is going to happen. But we could and should shoot for something a little more impressive than I don't know until the day before kind of thing. So we'll do our best on it, Greg. Good question.
Thanks, John.
Yeah, Dave here. I'll second that one. It's difficult. I get topics set up, and then later I find out, oh, that sounds awful similar to what one of the main breakout speakers is covering it. But it's like you say, it's difficult because I have difficulty sometimes getting the last information on it, specifically what are they covering till very late also.
Yep, I agree. We'll do our best. Well, again, I'll bring it up to the committee, make sure everybody has a focus on it, and seeing if we can get what we can. All right, last on the guide is I certainly appreciate, because people ask me for information, I certainly appreciate you filling out the survey after the event as soon as possible. It's just really helpful for us. Steve, the rest of the committee pores over that information, and if it's light, then we have to send out another email. Hey, please fill it out. I don't like to do that. So if you guys could just make sure that you answer that email as soon as possible after the event. I know you're tired. I know you've had a long day. But if you can get at it the Sunday or Monday afterwards, I would appreciate that. So, and then last, the mobile app again this year with the content. Generally we've been getting it out, if I recall, at 5:30, 6 o'clock Central Time. Just everything, a lot of stuff posted as the day goes on. So, I hope you guys like that and are sharing it to your team as part of your promotional effort and part of making the day a great day. So that's what I got. I just wanted to, just point out a few things. I hope I've highlighted that. I can stay on the line for at least 20 minutes before I need to go back to the paying job and answer any questions you have, any comments. These all have been great, very helpful. And so I'll shut up and listen if anybody has anything for me.
This is Steve Shelton from Colonial Baptist. This is our first time hosting the conference, and I guess the question I would have would be to some of the other sites. We're trying to figure out at this stage of the game, as we see the number of men that we have both within our congregation as well as the local environment, the local churches, the number of men that we have signed up, and then trying to determine what's the best thing to do. Do we try to do our own? I think we've already decided we're going to do our own praise and worship, just because doing that on TV is not probably conducive to setting the mood the right way. But as far as the breakout speakers, I'm interested, Mr. Munson, in what made you guys decide to go do a bunch of other speakers to augment the two streams of speakers that No Regrets is going to provide?
Well, first of all, I don't think there were two the first year we started, but we were trying to follow in the footsteps of another church locally that had hosted for a few years and then dropped it. And they had their own speakers, and I guess just wanted to offer a little more content. We've had as many as, I think, 14 speakers, and that means you can cover a lot of ground, and I guess I have a background in men's ministry as well as in recovery ministries, just to know the kind of things that guys struggle with. That there are guys out there that are going to want to hear this because that's their struggle and so on. So
in your breakout sessions, how many did you have in each group? Kind of?
Oh, attendance?
Yeah.
We've had as low as 3. We've had as many as probably 40, 45.
Okay.
I'd say an average is probably in the 20s, low 30s right now. This year we've got 7 speakers.
Total attendance to your events, a couple hundred men, and then they break out into the smaller groups?
Last year we had 240.
Okay.
Roughly.
That's good feedback, because I would not have I had not planned on trying to have that small breakout sessions like that, as much as really maybe having the 2 streams, especially around the lunchtime time, so you can have a couple of choices. But that's good feedback. Thank you.
If you haven't started that yet, that would be difficult to set up unless you've got, let's say, a couple of in-house guys that have something that they could put together right away. Most speakers that I've used are incredibly busy, and just trying to get them to commit can be difficult and time-consuming. And then once they commit to come up with a topic, and then making sure that topic, the big thing is making sure that topic is relevant to guys, because if somebody's used to being involved in ministry things that involve everyone, now you're segregating out guys, so you've got to make sure that your topics are guy-driven.
Right.
But we started the first. We probably started in May, I think, getting organized and set up.
The other folks on the phone, do you guys augment your speakers as well, or do you just go with the conference feeds?
This is Riverview, and we also augment and have in the past. We have Larry Nigley, who's a district here, Man in the Mirror in San Diego, and so he has been a speaker, and we're leveraging his network along with personal network here to bring in 3 or 4 breakout speakers. So, that's our way ahead. Ours are traditionally, I would be interested, ours are traditionally, or they've not required an honorarium for their efforts. I would be interested if that is out of the ordinary, and if we're embarrassing ourselves because we're not offering honorarium. These people are just doing it out of the goodness of their heart, and to be part of this effort.
That's been our experience from day one. We do offer obviously free admission, but no pay for the event.
Thank you. That's a great data point to have.
Yeah, I thought that was a good suggestion of contacting those kinds of resources like Man in the Mirror. Locally, I'll be betting that there's 1 or 2 guys that would love to be engaged in that way if they're not engaged already.
I can give you just some examples of what we've used. This year we've got a representative from Youth for Christ. We've got a representative from Cru Campus Ministries. We've got an inner city pastor. We've got a church planting pastor. Let's see, we've got a biker ministries pastor, and we've got a children's pastor, and a retired adult ministry pastor. So there's just a ton of resources out there.
Yeah, you guys said Cru, so obviously that leads to thinking about Fellowship of Christian Athletes and those kind of organizations, some campus ministries, all of those,
Right.
All of those might be available to you as, hey, I want to, the campus ministry guy might be like, hey, I want to, kind of promote what I do a little bit, so I would love to do a breakout session, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, good suggestions.
And last year we had a senior pastor who had just written a book, so he spoke on the topic of the book, and of course was able to promote his book. And
Perfect, good stuff.
All right, this is
yeah. Go ahead.
This
please.
is Scott. This is Scott from Guinnessburg in Tip, Ohio. Just kind of wondering, does anybody have a backup plan if your streaming has been working and then all of a sudden it stopped or something like that? Does anybody have, we didn't know if it would be advantageous to actually just go ahead and play last year's video or something like that, so that we have something in place just in case it happens. Does anybody have a backup plan for that?
This is Greg. I'm sure that at Riverview, we were concerned about that same issue. And the first, this is our third going forward, but our first event was without any issue. John, you'll recall that last year when the keynote speaker, there were some issues at the very end, and we basically backfilled and just called an audible for the men, did some stuff. But we also had and the church does have a AT&T cell line system that supports our kiosks on the outside. So that was the redundant system. So we do have redundant networks in the event, and we test that using your feed to make sure that not only the primary link but also the alternate via cell are easily switched over in the event of an outage on one or the other of the service ISP providers. But that is a good point. But if you don't have that secondary, that might be a great recommendation to if the feed is good, and if the feed is lost, rather, to use a local hosted stream that would be the preferred message or whatever to provide. That would be a good idea.
John, can you hear me?
Yes. Hi.
John?
Yes.
This is Chris. Just another thing to think about. For the last few years, No Regrets has created kits which actually have the previous year's sessions on them. I know that there are some from previous years still in stock there. I'm not sure that they have recorded like last year's or 2019. But we had churches that would purchase those and have them sitting there so that they could literally throw in, a DVD and be able to just immediately start in on a session from a previous year and hardly skip a beat. So that's another idea.
Yeah, that coincides with the idea of using the app, which obviously has last year's stuff on it. So, and there's 2018 is still on it. I don't know about 2017. I haven't looked at it for a little bit. Yep, good question. All right, what else? Those are all good stuff. All right, well, the session's been very worthwhile for me, and I think probably Chris Van Brockland too, and hopefully it's been worthwhile for you. And I'll try to have another session, I think the second week of December or so, just to see if there's any add-on questions or things similar, and we'll take it from there. Again, I'll post this as soon as I can on the YouTube channel and provide a link back to nrlive.com. Follow-up items I have real quick from Greg. Need a little more work on larger banner images from Greg. I want to send a little update on the materials available for you from the conference, including clothing. And I do have an addition to that, which hopefully will be a pleasant surprise to you, which I'll put out here in the next week or two. Dave mentioned to put some more information onto NR Live and or the guide about breakout session coordinators, which I think was a great idea. We want to press the committee to make sure that Steve, there's a guy named John Gabi on the team who works with the speakers, really want to press them to get as much content as possible, as early as possible. I think that's all I had for action items on my end.
Hey, John, you were going to, John, this is Greg, and you were going to press Steve Sonderman to see if he could get a high-level topic discussion, You know, is it going to, they talking about marriage, they're going to talk about work, they're going to talk about family, something high level so that it would allow the hosts, the remote sites to, you know, set up the breakout sessions appropriately to complement it. All right?
Yeah, that's what I meant about the content. If I didn't make myself clear, I pressed the committee to keep working with the speakers as much as possible, letting them know the urgency of getting that information out.
Perfect.
All right. Well, thanks, everybody, for your input. That was awesome. You guys have a great day, and being Thursday afternoon, a great weekend. Hope you enjoy it with your family and significant others, and I'll look forward to talking to you again in the future.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.